7, an ordinance of the town council adopting a property tax levy sufficient to raise the sum of $615,283 for the 30th day of June 2019. Staff recommends approving this ordinance. This adopts the final tax levy discussed in the public hearing. This ordinance sets a property tax rate for the 2019-20 fiscal year impact. This is the public hearing. This is a chance for anybody to address us regarding the property tax levy. Anyone from the, yes, can you address the council?
Sue Anderson, 78 Sunset. I just have one question, and you probably you thought, and that is, how does this dollar amount stack up against what we currently have?
This dollar amount is statutorily, we cannot increase the amount we charge from year to year except the increase in new construction. So last year, the property tax was $596,000. It's gone up $15,000. That is entirely new construction. Everyone's individual property tax will not go up. In fact, we're lowering the rate because assessments are going up. So our rates actually comes down.
Thank you.
Any other further comments in the public hearing regarding the property tax? Hearing none. Council, do you have any questions or comments for staff?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 19-158.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Estatico. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Going to move on to agenda item F, a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Superior, Arizona, urging the Arizona legislature to hear and ratify an amendment to the Constitution of the United States relative to the equal rights for men and women. Staff recommends approving this resolution. Discussion: by approving this resolution, the town of Superior hereby supports an amendment to the Constitution of the United States relative to equal rights of men and women, and urges the Arizona legislature to hear and ratify the same so that Arizona may become the 38th and final state needed for ratification of the ERA and the Constitution of the United States. Some other communities that have requested us to join them are Sedona, Miami, Jerome, Clarkdale, Springerville, Tolleson, Quartzsite, and Clifton. So we have a very broad base of communities. And as you know, the ERA has never passed, become a constitutional amendment because you don't have 38 states to actually enact the ERA.
Madam Mayor, I have 3 daughters, so I make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Estatico. There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Estatico and a second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries and Superior supports the Equal Rights Amendment.
Make sure you tell me that.
Let the world be known, and please let the record really emphasize Mr. Estatico's,
Tell them that.
because this is recorded in history, that Mr. Estatico fully supported this. We're going to move on to agenda item G, discussion approval of request for a statement of qualifications for the entrepreneurial development consultant. The town of Superior is inviting an organization to submit a statement of qualifications for the implementation and operational management of the Superior Center for Entrepreneurship, the SCE, which will provide business training and business incubation services and resources. Based on an evaluation of the proposals and qualifications, the firms responding to this solicitation, the town may contract for a term of up to 1 year with an option of 4-year or 1-year renewals, or until the project is completed or terminated, canceled, or extended as otherwise provided herein. This is funded through our agreements with Resolution Copper to develop an entrepreneurial center, and this will guide us in developing that center and managing it. So council, as you know, our checks have been deposited. They are in the bank account, and now we have to get down to business of moving our projects forward. So we need a motion on this. There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Is there a second? Second by Vice Mayor Alonso. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. And for the public, this will be a center that will help people to establish businesses or tech spots, to incubate other businesses, or have the technology available to them. This is going to be a very innovative addition to our community. Going to move on to agenda item H, discussion possible approval of request for proposals for lobbyist services. The purpose of this solicitation is to retain legislative representatives under contract to assist the town of Superior with legislative issues that may impact the town. The town of Superior intends to supplement the efforts of the town of Superior Manager's Office, other outside lobbyists currently retained under contract to represent the town of Superior, town council, town employees, and elected officials if the state legislature is completely or terminated, canceled, or extended as or otherwise provided herein. And this will also, the RFQs for state and federal lobbying support. So this just gives us the opportunity to look for qualified service agencies. It does not mean that we're actually hiring anybody, but to do some requests for qualifications so we can interview some firms. Council, do we have a motion on this or questions?
I have questions.
Okay.
So I'm curious, it says, the discussion says intends to supplement the efforts of other outside lobbyists currently retained under contract. So we currently
I
have lobbyist
apologize,
contracts?
I didn't see that that was pasted into that section. That is, we obviously borrow RFQs from other people, so I will amend the RFQ to remove that language that says that there's other lobbyists. They do, I borrowed this from Pinal County, and yes, they do employ several lobbyists.
So we currently don't employ any lobbyists?
No.
Is it typical for
Other
a
than
town of
CAG.
our size to retain our own legislative representative?
What was that?
Is it typical for a town of our size to
It depends on whether you
retain
have a legislative
lobbyist?
agenda. And some do, some don't. It depends on their situation. And this may not be something we continue. There's a number of reasons we need it. We are currently lobbying. Currently, I'm the only registered lobbyist for the town. Elected officials can lobby, but I'm the only official lobby for the town, so I'm registered lobbyist. The CAG is a lobbyist for the town, as well as the RTAC, is that correct? The Regional Transportation Authority
Yes.
lobbies on behalf of the town. So we do have some lobbyists who lobby for us. To have our own dedicated is, no, it's not particularly standard for a small town our size. Things that are happening though are the draft record of decision will be coming out next month. And we may need to reach out to our legislature to talk about those issues, make sure that our voice is being heard, and some professional assistance to do that would be in our best interest.
So, but you anticipate like this isn't something we're gonna need long-term and we're gonna contract every year? This is
No,
maybe more short-term because we have some special things that are going on?
The initial term for this is 3 months. So if we decide to continue after that, we can, but for now, it's just a 3-month period.
And this is really just the request for qualifications, so we can let people know that we may need these types of services, and we can have some purview to services that would be available, or firms that would be interested in representing us. One of the other parts of this is that some federal lobbyist support could help us with some of our other bigger projects, like the power generation station, airport improvements. There's a lot of funding out there in this particular federal administration for airport, and it's very hard to get it if you don't have some voices on the ground in Washington, D.C. and other places really advocating for us. So, you know, this could be a multi-pronged thing, but we can't get anywhere until we do a request for qualifications.
So, go ahead. You're just pointing out, once you have a lobbyist that wants to contract with us, you're going to go back to us, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Question. Did we budget for this?
No, and but there are some updates to our budget which make funding available. We do have a contingency for about $170,000. Again, I don't have to break into that unless absolutely necessary. But after consultation with our attorney, the 10-year timeline for our general plan has reset because of the zoning update we did in 2017. We did an amendment and update to our general plan in 2017, which makes it so that we do not have to re-adopt a new general plan until 2027 if we don't want to. My suggestion would be to wait on the general plan until until after we do our annexation, so that we can general plan for those two sections and incorporate them into the general plan.
So that $60,000 will not need to be expended this year for general plan. Thank you, Cooper, for catching that for us. We appreciate that.
Doesn't mean you get a raise, Coop.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that, just so you know. Okay, council, so any more questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, I have to ask for a motion to adjourn our regular meeting at this time.
You would recess the meeting.
Okay, all right. So I am recessing our regular meeting. And now I am going to call to order the meeting of the Superior Municipal Property Corporation. So I'm calling the meeting to order. It is 8:50. Roll call, Councilmember Aguilar.
Here.
Councilmember Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Navarrete.
Here.
Councilmember Statico.
Here.
Vice Mayor Alonso. And I'm present. And for the record, Councilmember Armitage is excused. We have an item, discussion of application to receive rural development grant funds in the approximate amount of $1,125,000 and consideration of applying for a rural development loan in the approximate amount of $1,375,000 for our wastewater improvements for the town of Superior. So this is just a discussion. Staff, do you have?
That is correct, and for the public, and public is, why are we doing this through a municipal property corporation versus a regular council action? The town of Superior has a municipal property corporation, which they've used in the past for projects, improving public utilities and within the community. By having a municipal property corporation, you're able to go to a lender such as Rural Development, which is a branch of the United States Department of Agriculture, and you can negotiate a loan term of about 35 years. Generally, municipalities are limited to incurring debt for about 25 years. A rural development loan basically carries better terms for a municipality. Yep, and the interest rate on a 35-year loan is around 3.25%. If you were to go to a bank, get a preferred rate, you're probably looking at 2 percentage points over that, if not more. And so it's a great financing vehicle for us, and so that's why we are doing we're doing the project this way. And basically, you're looking at borrowing this money over this term and also applying for a grant to basically get a portion of this debt, cost of the project, basically forgiven by getting the grant to apply for it. And that is the reason that this item is before you.
Council, any questions or comments on this? So I'm going to move on to agenda item 4, which is the possible approval of resolution 19-01, a resolution of the Superior Municipal Property Corporation to apply for United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development to apply for and accept grant funds and loan agreement for wastewater improvements for the town of Superior, and to authorize representatives of the Municipal Property Corporation to sign all documents necessary to acquire grant funding and loan and a loan application. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilmember Statico. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I need a motion to adjourn the Municipal Property Corporation.
Motion to adjourn the municipal property corporation meeting.
There's a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor Alonso, the second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 8:53. I'm going to move forward to call to the public. If there's anyone on the, okay. Is there anyone, I'm going to call your names out. If you were already spoken, you don't have anything else to say, just let me know. Cecilia Lopez, Sylvia Barrett, Bob Barrett, Steve Holmquist.
Steve Oaklis, 231 North Magna. Thank you. I'll try to be really brief because I know it's been a long meeting. Two things. One thing is I would just like to commend you guys, the town of Superior, and Anthony and staff on the food court. I just want to say, I think you guys did a great job. There's a lot of bang for your buck. It's forward thinking. It's amazing to me that, you know, literally like immediately after the project was finished, it was being used for the community, for the benefit of the community. I think that's awesome. I just want to say, good job. Okay, number two. If I were to ask you to close your eyes, and you don't have to do this, close your eyes and visualize downtown Superior. You might see different things in your mind's eye. You might see buildings. You might see the street. One thing I think you would all see, I'm going to take a shot here, you're going to see a big saguaro cactus downtown. I know. I've heard talk. So, I know there's been a discussion about removing the cactus because of safety issues. Before we do that, I would ask the town council to please contact Boyce Thompson Arboretum and get a cactus specialist who really knows cactus out here and just look at it and tell us if it can be saved. I talked to Terry Stone, who worked at the Arboretum, and he said absolutely. There are ways you can stabilize that cactus, so you wouldn't have to worry about it, the stability of it. And it could be done economically and it could be done aesthetically. So before the cactus gets decided to be removed, before you get to that point, bring in an expert, someone who actually knows and can say, you know what, it either needs to go or no, you can stabilize this. Because to me, that cactus is an iconic imagery of downtown Superior. I can't think of any other town anywhere that has an adult saguaro cactus on Main Street downtown. So I know it seems trite in light of everything else going on tonight, but let's try this. Let's give the saguaro a shot.
Thank you, Mr. Holmquist, for your official.
And also, I'd like to ask, is there any chance that maybe we could get one of those sheep net guns for the bench on Thursday?
Okay, what do you want to start wrangling up?
I thought I'd just throw that out there.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can fit that in somewhere. Thank you, everyone. Any last call for public comments? Ms. Anderson?
Sue Anderson again. Just briefly, the Cricket Fair Festival is coming up August 17th. We'll start seeing posters. It's all been on social media, of course. It's a full day of fun here at Town Hall, and the Senior Center is being used for food demonstrations and cook-offs and so forth. And here we already have 42 vendors signed up. That's how popular it was and how good it was for the vendors last year. So it was really a great idea to move everything in here. This room will be the Cricket Fair Lounge, expanded, okay, with entertainment on the stage.
That's what I'm talking about.
A full day of, excuse me, my turn.
Put it in a spacesuit.
A full day of speakers are lined up, so it's really going to be a great event. It's free to the public other than the drinks and the sales of food and vendors and such. We'd like to see you all here to help support the chamber and the town and the food hub on August 17th. Thank you.
All right, last call for public comments. Hearing none, I'm going to move on to summary of current events. Councilmember Aguilar. Councilmember Lopez. Councilmember Navarrete. Councilmember Estetico.
Move teacher night for the school district is Tuesday, July 30th, from 5 to 7, and school starts August 1st.
Vice Mayor. Just want to thank everyone for coming out. I think I've talked to you all enough, and you've heard my voice enough tonight. Thank you all.
Mayor, I do have one comment. Tomorrow is, in this room, is a hearing of Imaris discussing their plans for expanding the David Camp pit, our Camp David pit, and rerouting Forest Road 4. So I encourage everybody to get a fish out and come out and sit this.
6 o'clock, and that's, so that's a very important meeting tonight. And the town did not set that meeting, Imaris did, based on when they could have their experts come out. Fridays isn't a great day, but that's what they can do, so. Summary of current events are over, scheduling of meetings, emergency services meeting, our meeting will be on July 18th, Community Development Committee, July 25th. There will be no planning and zoning or no town council meetings in August. Council will resume its regular schedule in September unless we have to call something special. With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? A motion by the Vice Mayor to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for coming and participating in our public meeting. Thank you, council. Yes, I didn't get a chance to really say.
So they kept the pool, starting last year
wall, looking north. So you gotta project almost like a theater, it's almost like an amphitheater type deal, in a small scale. I agree with Mr. Holmquist. I was gonna bring that up. Any temporary wall is not conducive for event management. Number one, because of the asset, the weight of the asset, protecting the asset, deploying the asset, it's horrendous. And it does present a danger because of our winds. The 10-foot wall sound barrier is going to have two sides to it. I support the actual height. Because actually you can do, you kind of brought it up a little bit, is that there's an opportunity to do artwork on both sides. And I understand that the line of sight or the site views from where Cecilia lives is going to be somewhat impeded. However, even if the wall was not there, or even if it was shorter, you're still dealing with a 10-foot pergola cover on the stadium seating side. So the line of sight visually is not going to change all that much from where Cecilia lives. So you have to kind of take that consideration. Just don't look at the wall. You got to look at the whole project of itself from Erie and Maine up to the property line of Estes Park. My expectation, based on what I see in our growth in our events, and I agree with Steve and others, that once this is built, just like the food court, it's going to get high usage. The community is going to be attracted to this. This is not going to be a one-off, once or twice a year. That stage could probably be used, especially during the season, every weekend, and possibly even through the summer. So don't think that this is going to be idle based on what I see with the design and what's happening with the food court. If you look at the food court, it has become a magnet. And I don't expect anything less from this design. Designed by committee. We cannot, the council can't design by committee. There's no time. There's time constraints because of the funding. I think there's 18 months or so. So we can't table this, we can't walk away from it. It's a hard decision, and the way I look at it, and I've expressed this to Cecilia, as an individual in the committee, and as a citizen, we make decisions for the community as a whole. So that makes the decision more difficult. So anyway, it's a hard decision. We base it on what's best for the community as a whole, what's going to bring economic development to our Main Street. And I still want to thank Cecilia for working with us all those years.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Okay. Let me double check with everybody else first, because what I'm not going to allow is arguments back and forth between people. So you can address the council. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to address council before I allow any other repeat comments?
I'm Isela Lopez. I am Cecilia's sister-in-law, and I ask that before you make a decision, that you strongly consider her quality of life, because she doesn't have much of a quality of life. And putting up a huge wall like that, it's going to be miserable because she can't go out now. What is she going to have, her last 15, 20 years to stare at the wall for the benefit of the town? I don't think that's right. Thank you for considering this.
Okay, any other comments? Ms. Anderson, Mr. Shank, just calling you out, just in case. All right. Ms. Lopez, would you like to address the council one last time? We've got your name for the record, but I do have to caution you, we don't want to get in, we're not going to get into because this person said this, or this person said that. It's just how you feel, unless there's something that's changed, and we need to keep some brevity to it, so. Go ahead.
What I wanted to say is, I understand, I do, why you want a big wall. I understand. But there has to be better. I don't know how to tell you. Like I said, I'm not gonna live there looking at the wall, because it's gonna come in handy 10 years down the road. It was a good deal. I'm saying, the time that I have, that God gives me, I don't want to look at the back wall. I've been good for the town 30 years. I deserve better than that. And you want to build a 10-foot wall. And thank you. That's what I get for being good. Keeping my mouth shut when I get crap in my yard. Blocking my driveway. I don't mind the noise, the music, the people. But God, give me a break. Sometimes I've been too good. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, how do you put up with that?" I said, "It's only 3 days. It's only 3 days. And you're going to build a wall for 3 days here, 3 feet the days down the road? And I have to look at the back wall? No. Have a heart. Have a heart. I don't think I've been good about it. But I'm saying I'll work with you. But you can come up with better than 10 feet of wall.
Thank you. With that being said, last call for comments. Hearing none, staff?
I have a couple comments based on the discussion.
Hold on a second, Todd, 'cause we have one more resident comment and then we'll go to staff.
I think with the wall that's 10 feet, there will be a problem. Because the way the sun faces, I foresee that there will be a lot of heat that comes off that wall. So I guess that's another consideration. If you want to build 6 feet solid and 4 feet of open fencing, however you want to do it, maybe some of you need to come to my sister's house and see what she sees from there. And we will gladly put up 10 feet to show you what the barrier is, because when you're in Cecilia's porch and you're trying to see over the 10-foot, what you're going to see is Felicia's. You see nothing else but a little bit of the buildings across the road. So you're welcome to come by and we will show you what 10 feet is like. But also consider how much heat it's going to put out, because it will put out heat. And that's it.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to staff to give us some more details on this before council goes into deliberation.
In Yes, I just wanted to address some of the concerns that were raised, primarily about the second design. The temporary sound walls, we found about 6 different vendors. I cannot spec one nor purchase one without putting it out to bid. So whatever one I put in as a spec is just a placeholder spec until we go through the procurement process. Because community development block grant money, we cannot just spend out without competitive procurement. The part of the design with the spacing between the metal fence and the posting is so that we can add hold downs on the floor and on the back fencing to hold down whatever we install in case there's wind. As far as, this is our 4th public hearing on the parks. We have had this posted on the website a number of times. So we've met all the posting requirements with community development block grant, so the council can move on this. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, or Scott Lyon can answer any specific questions about the design.
I'm now opening this up to council deliberations and for council to ask questions of staff. Council, do you have questions or comments for staff? And now is the time to.
I just, a wall or no wall, based on the stage and where it's at, I mean, you can hear music played across town. So, I mean, to me, I don't think a 10 wall is going to stop really that much music from going up there, to be honest with you. I mean, I can't see that. It's still up on the stage. You're still going to hear the music. How much is that wall actually going to block, whether it's a portable wall or it's a 10-foot wall? I mean,
The primary purpose of the wall, sound blocking is a feature, but the primary purpose is to amplify and reflect the sound out. And the primary feature of all of the items that we looked up is not sound blocking, it's sound focusing and amplifying it out to the audience. Orchestras use these things all the time. It's pretty standard. There was lots of comments at the Planning and Zoning Commission about the difference between the Magma tones at the pharmacy and the Magma tones in the park. And the comments were it sounded like a completely different band because they had a reflective wall behind it. So that's the whole purpose. If we remove the fixed barrier wall and we put up the temporary, there are a number of products that are designed to do that exact thing. So it should function. Again, none of us have ever used it, so we're taking it on faith. And if it turns out that this doesn't work at all, we could be out the $10,000 for the portable walls, and we have to put the wall up later anyway. But I see that as being unlikely. These are fairly well proven out products. I think that it should work. Again, we're not experts in sound staging, but it seems to work based on the descriptions we've seen.
My only comments are, like town manager explained, we've had 4 public meetings on this, and planning and zoning is a subcommittee of the council. And we look at them as subject matter experts when it comes to designing and anything having to do with planning and zoning. And they put a lot of timely work and effort into this, and it's been approved by our subcommittee. So when it gets to this point, we're basically looking at them as a subject matter experts when it comes to us for approval. So I want to thank the planning and zoning and all the work that you guys put into this to help us make a decision. That's all I'm saying.
Comments from the rest of the council?
I have a question. So, this action item, say we move to approve it, what does that mean exactly? That these plans don't change, what's been presented to us don't change? Because I see this in front of us, which is I'm assuming Plan B. So Plan B isn't on the agenda.
Plan B is, yes, planning, you can approve the motion like you could with any other motion with a correction or a stipulation. You can make a motion to approve the design review and direct staff to move to a final design on Plan B. As-built will never exactly match a design review. It is a conceptual design, not a final build design. Does everyone have a copy of it?
this is Plan B.
That is part of Plan B. That's the portable background.
And that's not on the agenda. That's not the way
developed this week, in response to the planning and zoning commission's
No, I
request,
haven't.
they will continue to work with the property owner.
Now, I do have to say that we do have a property owner who is not here and is not making comment that it's the Martinez family who's come to us and said they are in full favor of the 10-foot wall and would prefer the wall to be installed because they would rather have that privacy and, more protection from the sound. That comment should be put out here to council. They chose not to come tonight. I did field a couple of residential comments on accessibility from other neighbors to make sure that we still had some access from the rear, which you'll see through the archway, the sidewalk still stays open. People in the neighborhood will have access to get in there. So those were a few other comments that I personally fielded in this. And I think we've been presented with some options. And as the town manager said, we can approve it with saying we want to use the portable sound wall, or you can approve it with the full wall. That's what's up for deliberation tonight, council. But we are under a time frame. We do need to move quickly with our CDBG dollars, and our busy event season is coming, so we need to get this built because we have events to host.
Question. On this diagram, it shows the wall right now currently at 6 feet. So we're doing an additional 4 feet to make it a 10 foot, is that what we're doing, or I just want to be able to understand?
The plan B is only a 6-foot wall. It is a 3 feet open and 3 feet closed. So it would be like many of the wall or fences you see around town. It's got a 3-foot low rock wall, and then it's got a metal between posts above that.
So those posts are actually holding the roof?
Yes. They'll be holding the roof and hold downs for the soundstage. But
And her wall is still moving in.
yes, there's a pergola over top, but it is still 10 feet tall, and it's going to have shade on it. And we've discussed that. None of the property owners have a problem with that.
And then if you go 10-foot wall, if I understand this right, it's going to block and maybe provide privacy, but it's not necessarily going to keep the music from, other than just pushing it forward?
It's going to
It's still
mostly
noisy.
push there'll be some buffer. It's going to
Yeah.
push it out towards the audience and push it towards the street.
When we have a big event like Passion League Day, I live halfway across town. I can hear it in my backyard like I was at the event. I don't think that's going to change.
We kind of have the best acoustics for a community for sound to travel wherever you're at. They just make the whole town a concert
We live in a canyon.
venue. We live in a canyon, so I think there is one of those red rocks up in Colorado or Utah. We can just replicate that.
They're expensive. I don't see anything wrong.
All right, council, we need some action. We need some further commentary. We need some direction.
I'll make a motion, we go with plan B.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to go with the Plan B construction, which is the temporary wall. Any further comments, questions, or discussion from the council on this? This is the time for deliberation. I'll leave it open.
My only question, not even question, just comment, is the longevity of this is going to be a permanent structure. With the partitions coming in and out, that's not going to be a long-term solution for the type of thing that we designed and constructed.
And I'd like to know what staff, like Public Works, how they feel about transporting those.
Public Works can figure it out.
I think we'd like to hear from staff a little. So
I would comment that part of the design will be a storage structure on site so that they can be rolled in and out. They're too bulky to move back and forth, so there would have to be some sort of storage on site.
So just for everyone to understand where we're at in the process, council, there's a motion and a second on the floor. So we're at a call for the question, which allows us to take in more information, but no further public comments. So we can hear from staff, we can ask questions of them, but the deliberation stays with council. I want to make sure everybody understands that in the parliamentary procedure here. Anthony, council's asking, has some questions for you specifically. Councilmember Navarrete?
I just wanted to get your opinion on how you felt with the temporary placement of the sound amplifiers having to.
Well, right now, as everybody knows, I'm short-staffed anyways. Usually moving a lot of things, even for Christmas events or anything. A lot of things get broke, tore up, they don't get handled with kid gloves, especially as staff gets frustrated. The more things that they gotta do, the more things that is called upon them during special events, they don't really get to enjoy any of that. So that creates a little bit of animosity between myself and my staff, trying to get them to motivate them to take care of these things that are continually being moved. And there's very little people that want to volunteer to help move these things or set them up. And it does create problems with the staff as far as trying to keep them stored in the area. And then we've got to build an extra storage area for all this stuff. So I don't have a problem building anything or not building something. But I would like it to be where it's less of a problem trying to put up with temporary things.
That temporary storage that you would have to build, that's not included in the current plan, right?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Those are all additional costs.
Yeah.
And that's additional timing with little or no staff to build those type of areas for this kind of barriers or whatever you want to call them. Sound barriers, structures that are purchased.
I'm going to call for the vote.
I have a question. Okay, sorry.
There's
A
a question.
clarification, I guess it is. Okay, so I'm looking at this plan, and this is a stage, and then there's a wall behind it. So if we go with the temporary, are we getting the stage, no wall, and those temporaries are going in there, or are those temporaries going
No,
behind the wall?
The stage is gonna be there with these little Gabion
Okay.
structures. And then the sound wall would sit in between those gaps.
Okay.
So when it's not in use, these gaps would still be there. We'd still have to have some railing because you have to have some safety on there.
Thank you.
Last call, and I think Svetlana had a comment, no? Okay.
Well, I had a suggestion, how about we'll have a, I agree with Anthony, and I agree with Cecilia. I want to just ask you a question. Cecilia, do you have a wheelchair that you can sit and use it? Do you have a wheelchair ramp at your house? Because with wheelchair, you would be able to, there is a still sidewalk, you would be able to participate, not behind the scene, but in front
Mayor,
of the scene.
again, I'm calling for the vote.
I understand, Mr. Statico, but we're gonna be patient with our residents.
But when you have a function going on, what is that wheelchair gonna do me? Okay, that's it, I was just wanted to ask you a question.
All right. I think council, unless there's any further questions from council or requests for more information, there's a motion and a second on the floor. The motion and the second is to approve Plan B, which was with the portable sound wall installation. I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay. Okay, but we're going to have to do a roll call. We're going to have to do a roll call vote. Councilmember Aguilar.
Indeed.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yay.
Councilmember Navarrete.
No.
Councilmember Statico.
Yeah.
Councilmember Alonso.
No.
And I'm a no. So at that point, Plan G did not go through. So there needs to be a motion to approve Plan A.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance as designed, as approved by planning and zoning, and that's approval of ordinance 19-157.
So the motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
So we have to do roll call vote. All in favor, so Councilmember Aguilar? say your vote, sorry. Or raise your hand.
This
No, you
has
just
to
say.
this has to go through. We have to do something.
Okay, well, we have to vote.
Sierra, no.
Yea or nay? I'll start from the other end. Councilmember Navarrete.
Yes.
Councilmember Statico.
No.
Vice Mayor Alonso.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
No,
Councilmember Aguilar.
No.
And I'm the tiebreaker on this, and I vote yea. So.
3-3, I believe, or 3-3.
Oh, shoot, that's right, Bruce isn't here.
We're hung again, so.
All right, so we're hung. We're hung. And obviously, we are having some issues with this. I'm gonna, no, we don't have time to table it. Well, I'm gonna request,
No, can we make a revise?
we can, okay, so the 2 votes have failed. The 2 votes have failed. We can go back and make a revised motion because the action is basically dead. I am going to suggest the following motion. If it gets a second, it gets a second. If it doesn't, that we approve the design as approved, but look for other materials that could accommodate the view shed to create, more openness, modify the design slightly, but to have something that is more permanent. Because I do believe that in the sound world, we have not had a chance to do enough research. We have not had enough time to talk with a lot of these vendors, that there is something that we can probably put in, or maybe it's mechanized where, if you can get those roller shields that, set stuff up for security reasons, we should be able to do that. And
Just look into it.
I got a comment. That would be a design change though, which is what we've been saying we don't have the time for.
The council could choose to, there was a third option that was discussed at planning and zoning, which we have not developed fully, but which is an option. That's a 6-foot wall with a 4-foot open metal, similar design to what we're talking about, with a 6-foot base rather than a 3, and 4 feet over above that. It's not as good for sound, but it's a compromise.
Zero.
so let me retract any motion on the floor.
But that again, that option is not in the agenda.
No, but it's a design review. You can approve a design review with stipulations, so you can put stipulations on it if you like.
And we have an issue that having a quorum at an August meeting is going to be next to impossible. We would have to call a special meeting. So, I understand we're all trying to be very, very accommodating here. And we're trying to make decisions of what's going to be best financially for the town, what's going to be most feasible for our staff. I honestly believe that once we get into this and we start doing it, they can come up with some accommodations, and they can make that back area of that wall, how the back end of it just as nice, garden space, whatever, so it's still a nice and accessible and beautiful addition to our community. I believe that, those are the minor details that you start tweaking when we're getting closer to managing this project. But right now, we can't keep holding this off. Ms.
I just wanted to clarify, in the engineering world, how it works, we submit the design plans, then we start doing the actual construction, and those design plans, we take them, and those are as-built plans, we call them. So whatever modifications we do with, while we're constructing, we create as-built plans with instead of the 10-foot wall, now we have 6-foot wall with the fence, with pergola. Those are as-built plans, and that's usually how it works always. So those modifications are goes into as-built plans.
So I'm gonna remind council, as we get into this, we're gonna have to have some kind of action. We have to make decisions on what's gonna be most durable. We have to think long-term, what's durable, what's gonna last. We also have to take in consideration our residents, and our residents that live on the north side of town do put up with a lot of the activities from the chamber. Those activities support our groups like the chamber and the Optimist Club. And if we start creating issues where people are angry with each other and they start balking at some of these things, it could have a trickle-down effect to our other organizations, because, you know, events become harder to put on, or we get into major disruption amongst the community because of something that we're used to. Change is hard, everyone, and we're going through rapid changes, and we have to make decisions. This is actually a plan and idea that was addressed by the council 30 years ago. I think that was brought up at planning and zoning. And that plan called for a full-on band shell with bathrooms and, you know, took up much more of that space. I think we have the power and the ability to create something that could really be beautiful, even with, you know, a full wall. Yes. Well, you just make it a motion, yeah, everything died.
So I make a motion to approve ordinance 19-157 with consideration for design modifications.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the ordinance as presented
As presented.
with design modifications. There's a second on, with consideration
For design
for design modifications. Did you get that, Ruby? I think you were very clear. There's a second on the floor by Councilmember Aguilar. So for the public, what this means is that we're approving it. As we said, we're still working through the wall situation, but this gives staff and the neighbors some flexibility to talk about the design and work on it and come with some compromises. But it's not a guaranteed temporary wall. So with that, I'm sorry, no.
One clarification.
So the clarification means that we're approving the design as presented by staff with consideration for design modifications, which means that gives council some comfortability, staff to work with the local neighbors to make adjustments as needed. So we need to spend a little bit more money to automate something or to beautify something to kind of keep everybody accommodated. We're willing to, that's where it stands. Does not mean that the wall will not, that it will not be a 10-foot structure. This does not mean that. So there's a motion and a second on the floor. I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
So roll call vote. Councilmember Aguilar.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Navarrete.
Yes.
Councilmember Estatico.
No.
Councilmember Alonso.
Yes.
And I am a yes. So staff, you have some work to do on some design modifications. And we'll be in touch with the residents in that particular block to work. Yeah, Bruce is on vacation. That might have been a little bit. We appreciate everyone. We're going to try to come up with some beautiful solutions to this. Change is hard. We understand, and we're going to work through this. So now I have to remember what agenda item I'm on. E. All right, everyone. That was a lot of public hearing. All right. Agenda item. This is also a public hearing, discussion and approval of ordinance 19-1.
It's important to reestablish these populations. The sheep in and of themselves have an intrinsic value. They're important. They're an animal that creates a lot of attention. They're very charismatic. People really enjoy seeing them. I have a lot of recreationists in my district, and I hear about all the time how they got to see these sheep when they were in Fox Canyon or wherever.
So the link for that video is in that presentation. If anybody sees this one, it's there as well. But if you went into YouTube and just put in their search bar, moving bighorn sheep, this video will come up. So feel free to share that to other folks and stuff like that. So just if you didn't watch the video, I made some slides here real quick so we can go through this very quickly. It just shows, the helicopters that we use that they either come in on this one that you've seen in the video or we take them out of the chopper. Once again, kind of on a processing table where we're taking the net off. And then, of course, our wildlife health specialist. Our department is very fortunate. We've actually got a doctor of veterinary medicine on staff that specializes in wildlife health. And she has several technicians as well. So any wildlife health issues we have, we get immediate response, and they're always on scene to these type of events. It shows the ear tag and the collar that we use. Just a little bit about the GPS tracking collars that outlined on there, that they can take to multiple locations a day. A lot of people ask, if that collar stays on. No, they actually don't. They've got a drop-off mechanism on there that we pre-program either for like 2 years away or 3 years away, and then they actually release off the animal, drop on the ground. We can go and recover that collar and use it again. They got replaceable batteries, replaceable drop-offs, so we can keep refurbishing those collars. They're programmable for whatever objectives we're looking at. So we have some of them take 15 locations a day, or some of them just take 1 or 2 locations a day, and those will last longer because they're all on battery life. So the one, if you guys notice that 3D view of the yellow lines all over it, that was Picket Post Mountain. So we've had several of them on there. We constantly have 25 to 30 bighorn sheep always on Picket Post that move around over the course of the year. You see them transport and release, the boxes that we use. We have taken these boxes to the top of mountains as well with the helicopter. These are individual boxes that only 3 to 5 sheep fit in, so we can actually move them with the helicopter as well. Another part, with these translocations and conservation efforts that our department does in other states, that we do get national recognition from a lot of state and federal agencies, conservation groups as well, and of course education television. I know from that view you can't really tell who that is in there, and most of us kind of grew up watching this man right here. So they found out about some of our conservation efforts. So Jack Hanna called our department, they put him in with me, so I coordinated his whole video team to come in on a 2014 capture. And we're kind of proud of most of his segments on, Jack Hanna's only about 10 minutes or so. They have so much footage, this made a full 30-minute episode on their show. And as all of us remember, he's kind of clumsy and jokes around and everything. He's that way in real life. He is really clumsy and constantly falling down and everything. He's just hilarious. It was great to have out here, and he's a great advocate for what we do. So the upcoming bighorn sheep projects I kind of just basically mentioned. In September, we're going to be doing one of the disease profiling captures. So we bring in 1 helicopter, and in a matter of a day, we're going to go and capture 10 to 15 bighorn sheep and take disease samples. We're going to take blood, and we'll take a nasal swab to see if they've got any pneumonia issues and respiratory issues that could be contagious to the place where we're going to put them, that they have other bighorn sheep. We don't want them infecting an existing herd that we're going to be augmenting and supplementing those herds. So when we get those results back, which I believe are going to do very well, that's what institutes our translocation capture, where we actually go in there and capture them to remove them to put them into a new area. Our department has used Superior Airfield usually every year. Don't know if you guys have seen our choppers out, but when we do our population surveys, we do it for deer, pavilion, and bighorn sheep that we use a helicopter, that we have used Superior Airfield for just a morning or 2 out of the week in October and January. But we figured we would ask the permission of the town of Superior and the council for our November capture. That could be a 1 or 2 day event that, as you've seen that video, can take 15 to 30 people to actually do this, including all the volunteers. So it's going to be quite a larger event, and that's where we would like to request from the town to actually formally use that facility. That's how it is going to be quite a disturbance there. Going to be a lot of attractants, for people going on the road. So with that request, and if there is an approval, I do formally invite the council, everybody from the city. We put out a news release for volunteers and the public to kind of come out into the staging area and witness this event. There's even time to get you guys out there hands-on with the bighorn sheep if you're interested. We kind of get everything up and going, so we get everything in the flow and get in the pattern. As soon as we've got things going smoothly, we can bring in people to kind of get a little bit closer closer. And because most people don't really get that close to negotiate. I'm fortunate enough, I get to do it just about every year somewhere in the state, but it's a real treat. These are iconic, majestic species on the landscape that people really enjoy. So we would extend that invite to the city, most definitely. Within your package and on this, you can see our contact information. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. Our regional supervisor is Jay Cook, and I did put our website address on there as well, plus another link for that YouTube video as well. So with that, glad to take any questions, any comments, and then we can make a formal request of the town.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to give the Arizona Game and Fish permission to use the Superior Airport Field in late September and mid-November 2019.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Estatico. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. We're looking forward to this, and I think a few of us will probably want to participate and come out and see it. I know, ran into somebody the other day who was telling me about when they first brought the Bighorn sheep back and how exciting that was. So thank you, and we're happy to be a partner.
It really is. Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I will make sure to keep in contact with Ruby and Todd, and they can forward on the information to the council and to you, and keep you informed of timing and stuff like that. It's fairly flexible. We know what week it's going to happen, not necessarily exactly what day, because we're going to be using a professional capture crew on this one to come down and help us out on this, and they're doing other projects throughout the western U.S. So we're definitely thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Mayor, I'd like to suggest we change the order of C and B, because B is dependent on C.
Okay, so do C first and then B?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move things around a little bit, and we're going to move to agenda item C, which includes a public hearing. This is a motion, council will be seeking a motion to approve the abandonment of a roadway portion on Neary Avenue. Staff recommends approving this motion. The abandoned portion of Neary Avenue will be included into the existing Vestige Park parcel to enlarge the park area for the future improvements. This grant, the work and everything is funded through our CDBG funding. And with that being said, I will open the public hearing. This is a chance for anybody who has a comment, question on this particular, on the closure of Neary, to address the council, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Henry Munoz, 200 Great Drive. I'm also on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I voted against this at the Planning and Zoning meeting, and the only reason that I voted against it is because there was lacking of engagement with the local property owners in the area, and I didn't feel comfortable go ahead and closing somebody's street with these people not knowing, and later on I run into them in the street, and then they approach me and said, "Hey, I didn't know they were closing my street." And that was the only reason that I voted no. I'm all for the project. I have no issues with it. It's going to be a beautiful project when it's done. But I just wanted to clarify that on my behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz, and thank you for your service to planning and zoning. Do we have any other questions or comments from the public at this time during the public hearing? Any comments? Yes. Can you use the microphone, because we're on camera and we have to make sure all the voices are recorded.
Sylvia Barrett, I live in Queen Creek, but I'm here on my sister's behalf. And I'm just asking, this is only for the abandonment, not for the wall?
Yes, we're not to the wall yet. There's a separate public hearing on the wall, and we can explain that a little bit more. But I think we've heard concerns, we heard some resolution to that. So this public hearing is just on the abandonment. So it just means that we can abandon that street, that portion of the street. That's what we're looking for right now. That's the first action in this process.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So we did notify all homeowners?
Everyone on that block has been notified. I've spoken personally to most of them. There was one that is a new person that purchased the property and was informed by the realtor before they purchased, and they have not sought us out. But I've pretty much spoken to everyone else.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments in the public hearing phase of this agenda item? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the abandonment of Neary roadway, to approve the abandonment of roadway portion on Neary Avenue.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 19-156.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move back to agenda item B now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a motion to direct town manager or staff to apply to the Pinal County Assessor to apply for a lot combination and/or adjustment to add abandoned right-of-way to the Vesage Park parcel 106-12-3390. Staff recommends approving this motion. Discussion, the lot line adjustment plan is the first step in working towards making the Vesage Park an economic development tool for the town. This is, the project is funded through our CDBG grant. So is there any questions or comments on this?
Make a motion to approve request action 2.
There is a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor Alonso. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Statico. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I just want to let everyone know the first two motions that we made and we approved are just for the abandonment and just for that portion. So we're going to get into the next part, which is the design review. So this is now we're in agenda item D, which is the council will be considering a motion to approve the Vesage Park improvements and improvement plan. Staff recommends approving this motion. Discussion. The purpose of these improvements and improvement plan is a community park, a Vesage Park, that will provide a variety of activities in the downtown town center. The Vesage Park will play an important role in attracting tourism, maintaining and increasing property values, and providing an enhanced quality of life for the residents in all types of communities. The improvement plans are attached as Exhibit B. The amendment is consistent with the town's general plan and developments and is therefore in compliance with the state law. Before we open the public hearing, I want to make sure that we share some information. The staff did hear some of the comments and concerns from the property owners that are most closely related. And we were able to find, so one of the discussion items tonight, council, that we're going to have is we have some property owners that would prefer there to be more of an open wall with some gabions so they can still see in and out. But we have neighbors that also want at least a 10-foot sound wall. So we're trying to find some compromise. What staff was able to come and find, and is actually more affordable, is some portable soundstage walls. And council, that's going to be our decision to make. Do we want to build a permanent wall or use the temporary sound wall? The sound wall would be able to come up and down rather easy, and I want to thank Mr. Holmquist, because he's our local music in the park. He is our music expert. If we had to give him a title, we'd call him the town's music expert, soundstage extraordinaire. He came in and looked at the materials, looked at the specs, and he feels that that would still, those materials would still allow for the type of sound that we want to get out of the event. So I really appreciate staff getting to work, because they had this meeting before 4th of July. And by about Monday or Tuesday, we were able to sit down with residents and go over some of the options. There was a comment made about who was notified, who wasn't. According to the Arizona Revised Statute and state laws, we did not have to notify. This town has every right to have abandoned right away. We did not have to make official notification, but we did go out and try to make some face-to-face contact with everyone, at least in that initial block. So I just want to put all that out there before we officially open the public hearing, because even the design review part, we felt that it was important to go over the design so everyone knew what was going on and what it would look like and have time to chime in. So this public hearing, in fact, is an added value to the process, not a required portion of the agenda. It did not even need to go to planning and zoning for design review. We chose to take it through that stage. So I just want to clarify that so everybody understands the steps that staff is taking to make sure that, you know, everybody has a voice. So with that being said, I'm going to open the public hearing for any questions or comments. This is your chance to, per se, lobby the council to tell us whether you prefer a full wall or you prefer the temporary wall that would be used only when we have the events. That this is the appropriate time to say that.
My name is Sylvia Barrett. I'm here on behalf of my sister, Cecilia Lopez. Thank you to Todd for coming out and explaining the new wall to us, or the new, I guess it's Plan B. And that is what makes Cecilia happy, because that way she feels that she is not, being that she's disabled, she's been disabled she's lived in unmarried for 43 years. She's been disabled for 20. And now, leaving it open with the Plan B would allow her to be able to see what is going on, because she really doesn't get out. And it would let her see what is going on in town, so she's all for your Plan B. Because Plan B is, please explain what it is.
That's the temporary, it's a temporary wall, sound wall that can be installed. It's a very efficient system that can be installed when we have Second Friday. So it does protect the neighbors that do not want extra loud noise. So unfortunately, during those events, the sound walls will come up, but it'll only be during like Apache Leap Days, the Second Fridays, and we have more and more events that are starting to get scheduled. So, but Monday through Friday, when there's nothing going on, it'll still be an open air situation. You'll be able to see the pergola and the landscaping and everything.
The wall itself will be 3 feet high. That helps with the water diversion, and it gives a background to the back of the stage. There will be another 3-foot open section. It's going to have posts to support the pergola, but it's going to have the open gaps in between with the metal fencing up another 3 feet. And that's just so that if somebody's on the stage, they don't fall backwards off of it.
And she's really happy with the second one.
And we appreciate everyone's patience with us and taking the time to express their concerns. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this particular agenda item?
Hi, Steve Holmquist. I have to be forthcoming with this. A couple of days ago when I talked to Todd and showed me the concept about what we were doing, or thinking about doing, it all looked good on paper. After I left, I called Stage Right, the company that manufactures this particular item that we were talking about. And to be clear, it's not meant for exterior outdoor use. It's strictly interior. Now, I mentioned that to Todd just before the meeting, and he said that he was aware of that, and that there are other companies that have different materials for something similar that could be used for outside. But I don't know anything about that, so I want to go on record that what I thought was going to work isn't really going to work. It has to be another company, another set of materials involved, and that would have to be looked at independently of this other one that I had looked at with him that I thought was going to work. So that's not going to work. Now, I just want to bring up a couple of points here with this thing about the wall. I understand there are pros and cons on both sides of the issue as to what the wall should be made of in terms of cost and visibility and longevity. The panels that we looked at, to be clear, these weigh 256 pounds apiece. They're on wheels. One person can wheel it out on level ground and set it up, and they're adjustable. That's all good and well, but they are on wheels, and they would have to be stored on site, basically right on the stage. I don't know if that's an issue or not. The second issue is, we have tremendous winds that come through Superior, as we all know. And these things are like giant sails. And at 250 some pounds apiece, you don't want these things blowing around. It can be very dangerous. So they would have to be secured. I don't know exactly the best way to do that. I'm sure it probably could be done, but that's something to consider. Another thing to consider is, I realize a block wall would probably cost more initially, but once it's paid for, it's done. Anything like this that you buy, the consideration is down the road, it's going to have to be replaced. It's going to break, things are going to wear out, mechanisms will go bad. So I think in terms of long-term costs, this might be cheaper to do initially, but I think long-term it's going to be more expensive than a block wall. Because once the block wall is up, it's done, it's paid for. You can also use the block wall for muraling, any artistic issues or opportunities involved there for the town. That's, maybe a consideration too, I don't know. So, I don't know, I mean, these are just some things to...
We appreciate your feedback and your candor with us and your recommendation.
And I just want to say one other thing too. I really commend what you're doing here with this concept of the park. I think that the Vestige Park could be the jewel in the crown that is our downtown. And I think if you're thinking down the road, I don't know if this appeals to anybody but me, but I think with the amenities that we have now in place, with beds and restaurants and cafes and more coming in, and with this park project, and with this stage being covered and usable in a very acoustically friendly way, I see like a full-blown music festival happening in Superior. I think down the road, that's a very viable thing that we can put together. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holmquist. Any other comments from the public? Okay, you may address the council. Hold on, Mrs. Lopez would like to address Hank and then we'll move.
The only reason I had stated about notifying the property owners in the area, if you look in the community development block grant handbook, one of the most important things it says is community engagement. Let's just talk to the surrounding neighbors so that you can come to a conclusion and say on designs, figure out the pros and cons of the project. This design with just a solid wall, there's different walls that we can make to where we can have a visual sight perception on the part of Ms. Lopez there. I mean, anything, she cannot move that much, or she's disabled. She's enjoyed that view for the last 40-some years. I mean, I've done mining festival, mining competition for 15 years. This lady has put up with a lot of stuff, with all of our festivities, whether it be garbage, noise, parking. I think that if we open up to a little design committee to where we could design some type of wall that has a visual to it, to where she can see, whether it be blocked, as long as there's something that we can put in there so she can look out of her porch and enjoy the festivities like all of us do. I think we can do that, maybe put a little committee together. I'll be happy to chair it or be part of it to where we can design something of that nature. We just never had the chance to do that without any community engagement. Thank you.
We appreciate that, thank you. We have comments from the public first. Any last and final comments from the public? Does somebody can probably hand you the mic, so you can speak from there.
My name is Sophia Delgado Lopez. I've been living at the same place 43 years. For 30, I've been enjoying the stuff that's going on Main Street, even up to where I live. I don't go anywhere really, so I enjoy it. I really do. But not gonna look at the wall for the rest of my life. Like, maybe 15, 20 years. But that's a long time to put the same wall. I'm stuck at home. I can't even go enjoy the evening looking downtown. I sit on my steps to watch what's going on. This wall gives me I'm not happy with it. There are other things to do to keep the stage. I'm not complaining about blocking off the street, which now I have to go to the corner, make up my, what are these left or right? I can't even go to the store just like I do right now. Get my truck and just turn the corner. That's a pain for me, but I'm willing to work with people. I am. But you guys have to think about it. I'm not gonna be happy with a 10-foot wall. And you're putting something, a picture of the back of the, where it can look the rest of my life, looking at the same painting. No. No. I'm not gonna be happy. And I don't think anybody would be happy looking at it. I'm used to the open, looking down, watching the traffic, the kids, the parents. That's what I'm used to. That's what I enjoy. I don't mind the people, the crowd, not even the garbage, even that, But I'm not going to spend the rest of my life looking at the wall. It'd be cruel for you guys to think that I'm going to sit there happy if I see some picture painted on the wall. No, I am not going to be happy. So that wall, I'm willing to work with you guys. But that wall, 10 feet, is not going to make me happy, and that has to go. Because I'm not going to spend my time looking at the back wall. I'm willing to work with you guys. And as far as making waves, no, I've always been easy to work with. And I'm going to be easy right now. But I'm telling you guys, that 10-foot wall has to go.
We appreciate you sharing that with us, and I think everyone is hearing the concerns of the community, so thank you for sharing that with us, and we have to open up to other comments, and then the council will go into deliberations. But thank you for sharing with us, and I think we want to come to a compromise at some point. Any last and final comments from the public? Your turn.
My name is Bob Garrett. I'm Cecilia's brother-in-law. And I've been looking at this too, and of course she makes a lot of good points. As far as the sound wall goes, I'm not sure exactly, is it sound to keep sound from coming up the street, or is it a sound to project out for the concerts? I think they make amplifiers that will put the sound in the correct direction for the public. If you put up a wall like that, the heat that's going to be generated on that stage is going to be crazy. You're not just going to be using that stage for music, you're also going to have like folklore dancing and that type of thing. They don't need a sound wall for that. I think that if any of you would like to come up to Cecilia's house, take a look at what she can see now and what she won't be able to see once that wall is erected. And if you were living there, you would do it. I just wanted to say that I think that the town manager has come up with a good idea. It might not be the exact right things, but I think that we can find something that would work. As far as storage goes, you can build a ramp to move things up and storm out of the way and move the Bethany Park there. So it would be easily accessible. I think that there are a whole lot of things that can be done other than a solid permanent pump.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez.
Hank Gutierrez, resident of Superior, and also a commissioner on the planning and zoning. And this was a very delicate issue that we went through, but I'm here to speak for myself. Before I start, I want to thank Cecilia for being accommodating to all the events that are held on Harris Street, especially during Apache Week, because it's disruptive to her front door. And throughout the years that I've been involved with the chamber putting on the Apache Wine Festival and its increase in volume, that you've been very accommodating, so I just want to thank you. I've been involved in event staging for a long time. That was part of my career in my previous life. And I've also been involved with the deployment of the Apache Wine Festival in that particular area. And this discussion has been going on for quite a while. And actually myself and Ray Cartier kind of pushed him along to kind of make this happen. We're glad that we're to this stage. So I myself and Rick has reviewed the plans. We're not only just looking at the wall, it's a sound barrier for both directions, both for going north to protect sound going from the north, but primarily to project sound going to the south. Where the seating area is going to be, where the stadium seating is going to be. Let's not forget, there's other components to this. There's stadium seating on the south side of that.
Sounds like it's too expensive.
All right, everyone, I'm going to call the meeting to order tonight. Roll call, Councilmember Aguilar.
Here.
If you want to sit down, you can. Yes, please. Councilmember Lopez.
Present.
Councilmember Navarrete.
Here.
Councilmember Statico.
Here.
Vice Mayor Alonso.
Here.
And I am here. We do have a full quorum. Councilmember Armitage is excused. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Chaplain Van Gorp is doing black powder or something in the mountains, so we won't have anybody do the invocation.
Sure you do. Reverend Alonso.
Yes. Vice Mayor, would you please say the brief invocation?
Lord, please bless this council to make some good decisions with agenda items we have tonight. Got everyone safely on their way home tonight. Amen.
We're going to move on to special presentations. And council, on your consent agenda, there was also another proclamation that I wrote. I was contacted by a gentleman by the name of Michael Bema. His mother, I can't remember her first name now, she turned 90 years old, and she lives in California, but she was born in Superior. She was born on the floor of the desert, and she tells this story quite frequently to her family and talked about how proud the town was of the Arboretum and the building of the new school. So I got to know a little bit about Miss Obama and her life, but I did write a proclamation in her honor, which her son presented at his birthday. So I hope he got the, best present giver of the 5 children that she had, because he was really looking for something special. So with that being said, this month is the Small Cities Month by the National League of Cities and Towns, which we are a member of. So I will read the proclamation into our record. Whereas small cities and towns under 50,000 population are the home to millions of Americans and constitute the vast majority of municipalities across the United States. And whereas small cities and towns strive to strengthen their communities through the provision of services and programs to improve the quality of life for all citizens. And whereas the federal government is an essential partner in the success of small cities and towns and must be encouraged to continue to support programs and legislations that strengthen small communities. And whereas state governments are partners in the support of small cities and towns and must be encouraged to continue to support key programs and legislation that strengthen communities. And whereas organizations, businesses, and citizens are partners in the success of small cities and towns and must be encouraged to continue to grow their efforts to make small communities a viable choice for people to live in. And whereas during these challenging economic times, the need for a renewed intergovernmental partnership to support essential public services is more important than ever to ensure the safety and growth of small town America. And whereas the National League of Cities President and the Small Cities Council of the National League of Cities have declared July 2019 as Small Cities Month. Now therefore, the Council of the Town of Superior does hereby proclaim July 2019 as Small Cities Month and encourages President Trump, Congress, state governments, organizations, businesses, and all citizens to recognize this event and to work together this month and throughout the year to invest in small cities and towns to better the lives of all citizens. So we have issued our proclamation and we'll celebrate Small Cities Month. I think we have some social media things that we're going to put out on that. With that being said, I'll move on to staff reports, and I don't know if he's still here, but we want to thank Representative Shope, who, he is still here. I didn't see if he stepped out, but if you'd like to say a few words while you're here, I'm happy to give you a few moments during my staff report.
Oh, absolutely. I've never met a politician turn microphone. Director TJ Shope, Legislative District 8, your state representative. Just wanted to say to the folks that are here, I was able to spend the last hour with the mayor, with the city manager, learning about what's going on in Superior. For those of you who don't know, I spend another month or so, we'll have the annual League of Cities and Towns Conference in Arizona. I've been working with the council over the last handful of years on the blight issue in this community, as well as the communities of Hayden, Winkleman, Below Miami, as well as all of the other portions of my legislative district. And hopefully we'll be able to get other communities in our state to realize how much of an issue this truly is, and we can tackle it legislatively at our level at the state capitol as well. So just wanted to, more than anything, thank you for the time. It's always evident to me, and I sat down with some folks most recently from Local First Arizona who had nothing but amazing things to say about this community and the local independently owned businesses that are really making it run. And look forward to continuing to working with you. I look forward to seeing you all at the League Conference, where I will once again have a meeting with you to let you guys talk to me. Because believe it or not, I actually enjoy listening more than talking. So this is a fun time. Thank you very much. If anybody has any questions, you're more than happy to.
Thank you, Representative Shope. We always appreciate having you in our community and all that you've done to help advocate for us at the state level. So thank you for your time and efforts. Council, as Representative Shope mentioned, and I know you probably received some email updates, but we are moving forward. The League of Cities and Towns the policy committee did approve our request to go forward to the resolutions committee. That means that we present to the 91 members of the League of Cities and Towns, in which then if they all approve our resolution or our policy suggestion, then it can move forward to moving legislation forward. And so what we're asking for is some changes in tax law in regarding the loophole that property owners are able to take advantage of to devalue their property taxes. And that takes care of, there's a loophole in our state law that allows people to, when they abandon their property, pay practically little to no property taxes. And this is causing great ill to our communities. It's been a chronic problem for our community and throughout our region, and the only way we can combat it and prevent it from happening in the future is to start affecting policy changes and law changes at the state level. So we've been working very hard. We appreciate the support of Representative Show because he's helped us open a few doors to make some connections and understand policy a little bit better. But the other part of this will be to create a statewide abatement fund. And that will help our towns that, have had all of these homes that have become vacant because of access tax liens, to have a fund of money to go after so we can support that. But again, this is all hypothetical. We have a big step we have to get through, and that is to shore up the support of the 91 cities and towns in our state that are members of the League of Cities and Towns. Once that is in place, once that support is in place, then we can start working on what is an actual legislative change in the legislative process that will start in January of 2020. So I want to really thank our staff. Todd works very hard to put together policy papers. We're shoring up the support. We've met with the mayor of Casa Grande, the mayor of Maricopa, the 7 mayors that are in the Copper Corridor, the mayor of Prescott Valley. So we're gathering up our support to make sure that everybody knows what they would be supporting at the League Resolutions Conference. So that's coming up in August. That's been a lot of work. The last couple of days actually is when everything's kind of kicked off. The Boyce Thompson Arboretum is now completely independent. They are no longer under the operation or guise of state parks and or the U of A. The new director is on board and she seems to be doing quite well, working directly with town staff on some of the critical issues going on in the town that affect the Arboretum as well. So we're looking forward to building that partnership. This week, the Arizona Office of Tourism closed their co-op grant application process. The Chamber's been very successful over the last few years in securing about $6,000, $6,000 to $7,000 a year in advertising, which advertises Superior in the AAA magazine, Arizona Drive Guide, the Arizona Guide, that's the magazine that promotes the entire town. This year, the Office of Tourism offered a package that they would pay half of a branding study. So branding studies can cost anywhere between $35,000 and $40,000, but through a partnership with Local First Arizona, they're offering them to the towns and cities and organizations for what will be our cost of $5,000. So we're really excited because that will help us to build a brand for Superior that will go on our billboards and our signage and maps and all that kind of good stuff. So we'll be working in partnership with the Chamber. We appreciate the Chamber's support in that. And also the generosity of the Arizona Office of Tourism, because they've identified that that's been a problem, that a lot of our smaller towns can't identify a brand and kind of create a concept for them when they're marketing and promoting their communities. So that's been kind of the big gist of a lot of my work and outreach the last couple of weeks since our last meeting. Without that, Todd, do you have anything else on your staff report?
Just a couple quick comments. The seal coating program has started. Everyone is not aware. This program starts with filling every pothole on the road, sealing every crack, and then they come and they do a seal coat on top that will seal the water out and extend the life of the pavement. You can see that work, and Copper is completely done now. Canal's about halfway done, and it's going to continue for the next 2-3 weeks at least. And you should see roads all over town being taken care of. It's usually our most neglected roads after it's been working on, such as Boron and Mitchell and the side roads that are almost completely gone. But once he's done with that, we will queue up for another set. And we're not going to stop until every street has some treatment. The fire department's been working hard with the Arboretum to help them correct some of their fire code issues, their sprinkler system. They are now on board with our service contract, so we are trying to do our best to extend fire prevention services to them as well. And everybody's been doing a really good job of that. And that's all I've got to report.
Okay. Well, with that being said, we're going to move on to the approval of the consent agenda. On our consent agenda tonight, we have the approval of minutes of regular meeting from June 13, 2019. Approval of state special event liquor license for the Chamber of Commerce for the Prickly Pear Festival located at 199 North Lob Avenue, Superior, Arizona on Saturday, August 17, 2019 from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Approval of state special liquor license for the Superior Optimist Club located at the Magma Club on Saturday, September 14, 2019 from 5 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. And just a note that is for the police and firefighters appreciation wall that they're working on. Approval of PCSO memorandum of agreement between the Superior Police Department and Pinal County Sheriff's Office. Approval of PCSO holder of record agreement between the Pinal County Sheriff's Office and Pinal County Sheriff's Office. Approval of RFP to design, procure, and install playground equipment and a dog park. TOS will select, Town of Superior will select one supplier and/or contractor to provide equipment and materials for the playground as outlined in this request. Approval of RFP for pool playground equipment, authorizing CAG to request proposals RFP to design, provide, and install playground equipment for the playground project at the pool and skate park. Approval of fiscal year 2019 to 2020 Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens Contract 019-6655, Amendment Number 1, 619 between the Town of Superior and PGCSC for congregate meals, home delivered meals, and transportation services. The approval of proclamation honoring the 90th birthday of Gloria Richmond Obama, born July 8, 1929 in Superior. Approval of Arizona State Purchasing Cooperative Agreement with the State of Arizona Procurement Office, and then we have your department reports. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Is number 5 right?
No, number 5 is a typo. If we want to remove that from the consent agenda, we can approve it separately with the corrected language.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 5? There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we're going to go back and approve agenda item 5, which is, good catch, was the approval of the PCSO holder of record agreement between Pinal County Sheriff's Office and the Town of Superior. Between Superior Police Department, owner of record, and the Pinal County Sheriff's Office is a holder of record, June 20th, 2019.
Cool start for the night.
So, we have a motion to approve that item. Motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to our new business of the evening. We're going to start off with agenda item A, which is discussion, possible approval of giving Arizona Game and Fish Department permission to use the Superior Airfield in late September and mid-November 2019. This is request for action number 1.
Can you just make a motion to approve?
He has a quick presentation.
All right.
It's very interesting. I enjoyed it.
Got it right here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Thanks for actually having me tonight. So instead of just coming up with a short, brief little request, I figured I'd actually put a presentation together to give you guys a little bit of history of Bighorn Sheep in Arizona, and especially a little bit local on that. So real quickly, my name is Dustin Darbo. I'm actually the terrestrial wildlife specialist within the game program of Arizona Game and Fish. We have a regional office in Mesa. So anything that's game related that you can actually hunt within central Arizona, one way or another comes through me. I work directly with our wildlife managers out in the field, which we have several of them that have been in the Town of Superior, all of Miami, kind of shifted around based on housing, stuff like that. So pretty tight-knit department. So historically, now were you guys given the pack, or the presentation in your packet?
Yes, we have it in our electronic.
Don't know if anybody wants to shift just a little bit to get a quicker than that. But historically, Bighorn sheep numbers in North America, numbered in the millions. No surprise, like most of us have learned coming up through school, that through exportation and unregulated hunting, that all game species and wildlife basically took a downfall until the early 1900s. And even in our area here in the Tonga National Forest, there are lots of petroglyphs featuring bighorn sheep. It's actually one of the most common ones that we find when we're actually out doing surveys and actually on the landscape. As deer and pronghorn is kind of the second as well. So just kind of background of our department, and bighorn sheep, that is estimated in the early 1950s, there were only about 1,500 bighorn sheep within Arizona. And prior to the 1980s, within the Tonto National Forest area, central Arizona, they were basically non-existent. And due to conservation efforts of the development of the Arizona Game and Fish Department, a lot of conservation-minded people, the development of the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society, the Tonto National Forest, tons of volunteers, just interested people that are passionate about wildlife. Now within the Tonto National Forest and connected areas, there's well over 650 bighorn sheep within this area. And statewide, we're now nearly 7,000 bighorn sheep because of the efforts of the department and our goals and objectives and strategies that have been developed over the years. So in order to get to that level, besides just conservation, regulation, hunting, we do a lot of translocation projects. So with that, it's not just as easy as saying we want to move bighorn sheep in this area. We actually have a huge document that evaluates the habitat and historic documentation of bighorn sheep in a lot of areas. And that document is probably this thick that evaluates water availability, disturbance by humans, habitat, connectivity, escape cover, quite intensive, but we rely on that to actually look at where we are going to repopulate bighorn sheep into native range. We do a lot of disease profiling. Means bighorn sheep are very susceptible to disease, especially from the domestic sheep and goats, and even within diseases they have with each other can cause some conflicts. So we do a lot of disease sampling. And then just naturally the sustainability of whatever population that we want to go into to remove sheep to put them into native range across the state. So just locally, we've got several herds within the Tonto National Forest that most people are kind of familiar with. The Four Peaks herd, on this graph, I know with this distance it's a little bit hard to kind of see, but this is Roosevelt Lake, the big area here, and the Salt River runs across here. So this is a superstition wilderness. So the Four Peaks herd is everything that's north of the Salt River that encompasses Saguaro Lake, Canyon Lake, and Apache Lake. So that was one of the first goals of the department in this region, that during 1980-85 we started reintroducing bighorn sheep into that Four Peaks area. And some of this was even done a little bit before, some of this right in the fringe of the wilderness area designation. So within those years, 51 bighorn sheep were brought back into native range. And then that has been actually used for a source population for multiple reintroduction efforts across the state. It has its ups and downs with some disease events. Some of it was because contact with domestic sheep. Other ones are natural, like blue tongue and EHD, similar to what cattle get. Wildlife is susceptible to that as well. So just most recently, our highest population estimate in that area was about 220 or more animals. Currently, with recovering from disease events over the last 2.5, 3 years, just from blue tongue, we're sitting at about 120. And then we have the Superstition Mountains herd that in 1983 through 95, we introduced 157 bighorn sheep throughout the Superstition Mountains. That one as well has been used several times as a source population for other reintroduction efforts, and current population about 210. As you can imagine, our department as well has been getting a ton of calls from interested public, not even just hunters, just public, about the Woodbury fire. I know that's all on all of our minds, throughout this. And the biggest thing until we can go in there and fully evaluate that, my biggest response is the way that I was monitoring that with all the maps and talking to the Forest Service and firefighters, that most of our wildlife, I think, is going to come out very well because of this. It was a slow-moving fire, even though we had 10 and 12,000 acre burns. It was only going maybe a mile an hour. Most of us could walk, on flat ground, that quick, but wildlife is far faster than us. So I'm pretty confident that wildlife did pretty well, especially the bighorn sheep, that it did not burn the western, probably 30–40% of the Superstition wilderness area, and they did fairly well. My larger concern is stuff just over the mountain to the east here with our javelina and some of the small game. We will be up in our helicopters within a couple of weeks evaluating that and even more, and we'll be putting that out on our social media and other outlets as well. So more to come on that, but it's going to be great for the landscape. Once it recovers, some areas may take decades to recover. Other areas we're kind of hopeful within the next 5 years that we're going to see a pretty good response from most of our wildlife. So rest assured, our department takes this very seriously. We're going to put a lot more resources into it to monitor the wildlife populations in there and make sure that we can do what we can to conserve and protect those areas. So we've actually, and the ones I just talked about were actually desert bighorn sheep subspecies. We also have Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep within the Tonto National Forest. The most common one is the Mazatals and Hell's Gate area up around Payson. Been a couple of releases up in there. That population is doing very well, about 185. And with some of our research, and that's this area up through here, and then Hell's Wilderness area is right here by Geisela. And we actually did some studies that we've got bighorn sheep that actually move them down through here. Our biggest concern in this white area is the Heberino domestic sheep driveway. So there's some potential interactions with native bighorn sheep and domestic sheep in that area. So we're constantly looking at that. Fairly close to us as well as the Salt River Canyon herd, just north of Glow, and that's this area over here. And then close to home for all of us right here is our Mineral Mountain herd. So during 2003 to 2012, our department reintroduced 100 bighorn sheep into the Mineral Mountains. Most of our release points were down around Box Canyon, Martinez Canyon. And our most recent survey there was 2017, and about 152 was a very comfortable number that we've seen in there. Very sustainable growth. We believe that this herd is very naive to known pathogens, very healthy herd from what we can do. So that brings us to potentially using that as a source herd for the Newman Peak area down in Precautions. It's another unoccupied native range area that we put bighorn sheep into last year, and we think the disease profile is going to be very similar, and that's what kind of stemmed a lot of this conversation today. So just a quick snapshot of the desert bighorn sheep in the Tonto Forest. So over all of these years from 1980 to current, we've placed 380 bighorn sheep throughout the Tonto, and our population estimates in this is around 600 to 650 bighorn sheep. So it's more than doubled in size since we started translocations. The source herds for most of these came around Yuma. A lot of people are familiar with the Copa bighorn sheep. The chocolates, the Trigos Mountains, the Plomosas, those were source herds for a lot of these bighorn sheep introductions. And they had their disease issues, so now they're looking at the sheep within the Tallahassee Forest as source herds. Another success story besides that, if that wasn't enough, in 1995, our department was able to capture bighorn sheep from the Four Peaks herd on the north side of Canyon Lake. And the first one was to move them just across the river into the superstitions. It is the first time that our department has ever been able to use a new herd that was translocated and use them as a source herd again. And then we continued to use those in 2010 and 12, going into the Middle Mountains. And then 2014, we used those herds to go down to the Catalinas by Tucson and get that herd back reestablished from when it was extricated. So our planned ones is 2019 is to use the Middle Mountains as a source herd, like I mentioned, for Newman Peak. This would be a third generation source herd, which is almost unheard of even in a lot of the western states doing bighorn sheep, translocations and introductions and new peppers. So we're very proud of that sheep program's been going very strong. So just the basics of the bighorn sheep translocation. This is one of the helicopters that we contract out with Papillon up in Grand Canyon, the tourism company up there. They've got some excellent pilots that have trained with us for over the last 30 years. Maybe a little hard to see in this photo, but that is one of our net gunners that actually fires a net out of a type of special weapon that tangles up the sheep as they're running. So one of our photographers is able to be in the right place at the right time to actually get this photo. So if you guys are willing and want to, there is actually a 7-minute, 31-second video that our department produced with the help of Ace5 Video in Scottsdale that outlines a lot of what occurs during this. If you want to watch it, that's great. We can turn around, or otherwise you guys can go into the link later and watch it, and I've got some slides that outline it very quickly. So at your discretion. I know the council's always very busy.
I think our audience here would appreciate it, and quite interesting. We're interested about this.
So yeah, with this being 7 minutes and everything, I don't want to give them permission to turn their chairs and get nice and comfortable. Feel free.
Somebody will help us turn down the lights.
For some reason, it's not the sound is not picking up on my keyboard or laptop.
You want them all off?
That's good.
Wildlife biologists, handlers, and pilots prepares to capture and relocate 30 desert bighorn sheep.
So this project was just a few years back, based out of Canyon Lake. It'd be the same thing that we're looking at doing in the Middle Mountains this fall.
Today we're capturing sheep as part of a transplant effort to move
practical way to safely capture them is with a net gun from a helicopter.
The helicopter goes up and locates a herd of sheep, and the net gunner kind of sits on the edge of the seat, hangs out at the side a little bit, and they try to get one of the sheep out and away from the herd enough to fire the net gun, and that net should go out and kind of tangle up that sheep. And then they'll drop down low enough that the third member of the crew can exit the helicopter, run around, and get on that sheep, secure the sheep.
The net gunning process has a lot of moving parts. In this operation, the helicopters are flying low and slow over steep, rugged terrain. Since safety is always the #1 priority, the experience of the crews is critical.
We work really closely with our pilot, and the net gunners we have in the department have actually net gunned for quite a while, and the pilots that we use are very experienced as well. So we work pretty good together without even communicating a lot verbally. I can tell by the way he's flying the ship where he's going to go, and he can tell by the way the animals are running where I'm going to make my shot. So it's done for such a long time. You'll see in some of the videos potentially that we'll be chasing animals for what seems like a long time, but what we're actually trying to do is single out a specific animal. When you net an animal, you have to be really careful because the nets are 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 squares, but on each corner is a pretty heavy weight, and you want to be careful so the weight doesn't hit one of the other animals in the herd. Once we see that the animal is caught up in the net and what we think is not going to get away, because every once in a while they just roll out of the net and off they go, we actually have a third person in the helicopter who we call the mother.
The mother's first goal is to subdue the animal by getting it down on the ground and covering its eyes with a blindfold. Once the sheep can't see what's going on around it, they generally calm down. Sometimes, though, even a blindfold doesn't subdue the sheep completely. These animals have such a strong flight instinct that the mother might occasionally be taken for a short ride. This takes right through a patch of Troya cactus. But generally, the captures go very smoothly, so once the sheep is hobbled, it's ready for transport. If there's a safe place to land near the capture site, the sheep is loaded directly into the helicopter. If the pilot can't land in a suitable location, then the sheep is placed in a specially designed bag and tethered underneath the helicopter for the short flight to the staging area. Staging area is set up in the parking lot next to Canyon Lake. Here, dozens of game and fish personnel and volunteers take over the handling of the sheep. In this carefully orchestrated process, the sheep is untangled from the net, and the wildlife health team begins tending to any injuries that may have occurred during the capture process.
The other thing we're doing is we're collecting biological samples, such as blood. We're going to test for antibodies to diseases that bighorn sheep get, especially the pneumonia diseases. The other thing we're doing is we're collecting swabs from the nasal passages, and we're going to save those back in a culture dam that looks like any of the antibody tests are positive. The sheep are coming in nice and cool, and they look very healthy. They're looking really great.
After the test samples have been collected, the sheep are given some immunizations and vitamins, and they each receive an ear tag for identification. 10 of these sheep will receive real-time GPS tracking collars, so the biologist can monitor the sheep's comings and goings on a daily basis. While all of this is going on, another group untangles and repacks the nets, so the helicopter crews can keep moving.
We wouldn't have been able to do this without a lot of help from the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society, and they put in a lot of volunteer man-hours and funding to help us with these relocation projects and get us the collars, the tracking collars. And we've just this year gotten data that's showing that this project is really taking hold and working. It's one of those things that for a while you hope and you hope and you hope, and then this year we finally saw that data that the sheep are really taking hold.
and travel boxes are the last leg of their journey. This time to the Mineral Mountains near Florence. This location was identified in 2000 by Arizona Game and Fish as a prime sheep habitat, and this is the third translocation of big